Hello, I'm here in the beautiful council chambers of Maryborough City Hall, which for over a century has been the headquarters for local government for our region. It was built by the Maryborough City Council in 1908, and during the time that Maryborough was council between 1861 and 2008, 52 people served as the Mayor of Maryborough. It was in this room, when I looked up and saw their portraits lining the wall, that I was inspired to write this book, Public Life, The Mayors of Maryborough, because we really don't know a lot about all these mayors, and they are really interesting as political figures, as leaders in our community, starting with Henry Palmer and going all the way through to Barbara Hovard. The first mayor was Henry Palmer, and he was elected in April 1861. The second mayor was John Eaton, and he was known as the Squire of T-Bar. I actually met one of his descendants, Kerry O'Brien, who was on the 7:30 report once. James Dowser was the third mayor, and he was centrally involved in many of Maryborough's lasting institutions, including Queen's Park. Andrew Melville was the fourth mayor, and you can see a memorial to him in Queen's Park, the bandstand and the fountain, which is a memorial to him, paid for by his sister Jeanette. The fifth mayor was Robert Case. He was an interesting mayor. He was mayor for less than a month in 1864, and he was brought in at a very contentious time on the council. He was seen as a neutral alderman who might be able to bring a resolution to the combative situation that had developed. Our sixth mayor was George Nightingale. Unfortunately, we don't have a photograph for him. He was a prominent businessman and the mayor of Maryborough from late 1866 to February 1867. Our seventh mayor was Henry Stoward. He was the rival of our third mayor, Dowser, and he was mayor on three separate occasions: February 1867 to May 1868, February 1869 to December 1869, February 1873 to June 1874, and each period ended quite dramatically with his resignation at each end of his term as mayor. The eighth mayor was John Harwood, and he was elected mayor in 1869. He was one of Maryborough's first settlers, arriving in the late 1840s. In the early days, he was very central to the town's functioning, including serving as a police officer and as a mail carrier. Thomas Milner was the ninth mayor. He was mayor for a short period, December 1869 to February 1870. Charles Booker was mayor on two occasions. He was our 10th mayor, 1870 to 1871 and 1875 to 1876. The second term was immediately after the council had been reincorporated after being mired in controversy. Charles Powell was the 11th mayor. He was a very experienced brewer. People right across the colony of Queensland really enjoyed drinking his beer. The next mayor was Frederick Bryant. He was mayor on numerous occasions and also served on the Durham Council. William Southerton was the 13th mayor. He arrived in Maryborough in 1857 and stayed for half a century as a conscientious and deeply civic-minded businessman. John Annear was the 14th mayor of Maryborough. After serving as mayor, he served representing Maryborough in the Queensland Parliament, as it did a number of other mayors. The 15th mayor, Richard Hine, also represented Maryborough in Parliament. He was the founder of Hine Timber. When he was in Parliament, he advocated a number of progressive reforms, including expanding the right to vote to women. Thomas Penny was our 16th mayor. He had a successful drapery business in Maryborough. Our 17th mayor was Nicholas Tooth. He had a long and wide public life, serving as an alderman on the Maryborough Town Council, the mayor of the Maryborough Town Council, councillor on the Durham Divisional Board, chairman of the Durham Divisional Board, member of Parliament, and lastly as the Shire of the Clerk of the Pyalba Shire Council. Charles Powers was a very bright solicitor. After he was mayor, he went on to become the leader of the opposition in the Queensland Parliament, the first Commonwealth solicitor, and remarkably a High Court Justice, a mayor who went on to be a High Court Justice of Australia. The next mayor was William Dawson. He was mayor on two separate occasions. The second time coincided with the planning and construction of City Hall. Our 20th mayor, George Stupart, founded Stupart's Department Store. The building is still a landmark here in the city. The 21st mayor, James Stafford, his untimely death at the age of just 41 cut short a career which had enormous potential and robbed Queensland of one of its brightest public men. William Harris was our next mayor, and unfortunately he's the other mayor that we don't have an image of. So if you have one, please send it to me. He was mayor of Maryborough during the record 1893 flood of the Mary River here into the Maryborough CBD. The next mayor was John Bartholomew. He was the 23rd mayor, and he represented Maryborough in the Queensland Parliament and was a candidate for the Senate after Federation. Fritz Kinney was the 24th mayor. He was a very successful builder. Many of his buildings still stand in Maryborough, including Baddow House, the Girls' Grammar School, and St. Stephen's Church. Charles McGee Sr., he was our 25th mayor, a strong Labour supporter, and was a member of the Queensland Legislative Council. Our 26th mayor was James Equestrian Noakes. He was born on the ship the Equestrian. His brother, Thomas Slains Castle Noakes, was born on the ship the Slains Castle. John Norman, another mayor who went on to represent Maryborough in the Queensland Parliament. Charles Rabba, our 28th mayor, held a remarkable public meeting across the road in the old town hall with Australia's first Prime Minister, Edmund Barton, soon after Federation in February 1901. Robert Jones, our 29th mayor, was an expert accountant as well as the mayor of Maryborough. Andrew Dunn, our 30th mayor, established a media empire of newspapers right across Queensland. Charles Johnson was the mayor of Maryborough when we were declared a city. Our 32nd mayor, William Sin, was the mayor when this building, Maryborough City Hall, was completed. Our 33rd mayor, Charles McGee Jr., was the son of our 25th mayor of the same name, and he was a top sportsman. Patrick Toohey ran a number of Maryborough hotels at different times, including the Post Office Hotel, the Shamrock Hotel, and the White Lion. Our 35th mayor, Harry Hine, was the mayor on 2 occasions, and he was the son of our 15th mayor, Richard Hine. John Blackley was our 36th mayor. He had a cordial factory in the city. He would later represent Maryborough in the Queensland Parliament for a term. Harold Reid had a remarkable career. He was actually elected mayor on 3 different occasions in 3 different decades, 1916, 1921, and 1933. Our 38th mayor, George Hulbut, was a highly regarded builder, particularly of residential properties. Our 39th mayor, Ernest Worry, represented Queensland in bowls. The 40th mayor, Isaac Bushnell, showed the Prince of Wales around the city on his famous visit in August 1920. The 41st mayor, Charles Adam, was a remarkable mayor. A primary concern for him as mayor was to help improve the lives of residents through beautifying and extending the city's parks and gardens in order to promote outdoor recreation and community interaction. This continued even after his death, through a bequest in his will to be used for city beautification. Our 42nd mayor, unfortunately, he died in office, Henry Bashford. He was a dentist by profession. He was somewhat unique in that he served on 3 different local governments, the Berkshire Council, the Maryborough City Council, and the short-lived Pyalba Council. Following him was another mayor who died in office, William Domain, a truly remarkable man who made very lasting impact in Queensland and Australia, particularly through the Labour movement. He was a very active and engaged mayor who was still in office in this room on his 80th birthday. The 44th mayor, Robert McDowell, was the first to serve a full decade, 1939 to 1950. He actually resigned his job to take a job at the council's water treatment plant. The 45th mayor, Cyril Tanner, at just 27 years old, he was elected in a landslide and really upended the established political scene in Maryborough. The 46th mayor, unfortunately, was another mayor who died in office, Herbert Jones. He was only mayor for a little more than a year, unfortunately. 47th mayor, Robert Hunter, took part in the Anzac landing at Gallipoli and continued his military career long after World War I. Ralph Stafford was the 48th mayor of Maryborough, and he was very involved in rugby league at a local, state, and international level. John Anderson was the 49th mayor of Maryborough, and from 1970 to 1988, so he was the longest serving mayor, serving for 18 years. Ronald Peters, the 50th mayor, ended 18 years of Labour control of the council. After Anderson retired, Ronald Peters beat Brendan Hanson at the 88 election. Alan Brown was our 51st mayor. He led the city through major changes and developments, including the Station Square development, Brolga Theatre, and the Maryborough Correctional Centre. The 52nd mayor of Maryborough and the last mayor of Maryborough was Barbara Hobart. She led the council in its final term of 2004 to 2008, after which she was elected as a councillor on the Fraser Coast Regional Council. Well, if you're still with me, perhaps you do have an interest in local government history. Not everyone has an interest in local politics and local political history, but if you do, please check out my book. It's available at the library, the Fraser Coast Libraries, as well as here at City Hall in the Visitor Information Centre. It's called Public Life. I spent quite a bit of time researching and learning about the Mayors of Maryborough because I wanted to get an idea about how they helped develop our community into the fantastic place it is now.